Hi, welcome back to another episode of TickED. We are ticked again. This is Lynn and Mary. And Mary, okay, so this next episode, we're going to be talking about House Bill 1605 and I'm trying to think of a clean word for that showdown at the legislature. The
I mean,
disaster.
there's a couple of things here on 1605. So I think that we anticipated that it was going to come. One of the things that I think is important for people to know that they might not know. I mean, hopefully a lot of people who see this will not even know about the quote unquote Amplify bill. Although I think a lot of people know what Amplify is. So one night when you and I were driving, as a matter of fact, to testify on this bill in the House,
against
this bill in the House, we had been in Webster, Texas, speaking, and we're driving late at night, and I got a message from Dick Weekly asking what was it going to take for us to get behind his bills. And his two bills were 1605, the Amplify bill, and the SB 8, the voucher bill. And the voucher bill, SB 8, was being marketed as a parent empowerment bill. And so I called him because we were driving and it was dark and difficult to type back. And he answered and we had a phone conversation. And I think it's really important that the voting public understand that Dick Weekly donated so much money, how much every season, and he claims for 30 years that he's been doing this. For 30 years, he's been establishing relationships. Do I need to pause?
No, okay. Go ahead.
That he's been establishing these relationships with the state members, the governor, and that he has this authority because he has these relationships. And, we originally went to him to point out the things that Mike Morath had done that has hurt education. And we asked him to help us get rid of Mike Morath. And he literally just doubled down and protected him. And no matter what we showed him, he just protected him. So 1605 is an Amplify bill. And they put a bunch of pork
Amplify
in there.
It's a vendor bill and a technology
bill. It's a vendor bill.
Right. Because in the bill.
Technology, open education resources embedded in a bill that they were saying undid Senate Bill 6, which from several sessions ago, which restricted the SBOE's authority. Now then, anybody who is used to reading bills read that bill and said, wow, that's as crafty as a fox. And we've talked about all that, but here we are today. And it's two bills. There's 2565 in the Senate. It's the identical bill as 1605. Right. We had a conversation with Chairman Buckley. Gosh, when did we talk to Buckley? I guess we talked to Buckley on our way to Webster. It
was the same.
And he called us because he was upset that we were opposed to the bill and that we were calling it Digital Common Core and that we were saying that it was technology. So before we ever got to the hearing, we had a conversation with him, and he did not deny that this was Morath's bill. Sure. And he did not deny that it was Dick Weekly's bill and that they were the ones behind this bill. But yet it's enshrouded in giving SBOE authority. And frankly, I know that my generation's not the first to say they're sick of the pork in bills, but I'm sick of the pork in bills. I want clean bill.
This one has a $2.44 billion fiscal note. So it is absolutely a vendor bill. And it is lining the pockets of not just the Amplify, the vendor itself, it's all the other layers embedded in it, because you have to have all these other people involved. The other thing is, it says in the bill, it says technology 50 times. It says open education resources 65 times. And open education resources is a term that was coined by the United Nations, UNESCO. So that's, and that was created by Julian Huxley, Aldous Huxley's brother, Brave New World. So we are looking at a technology bill that is aligned with United Nations and UNESCO. And this is 100% of the House Republicans voted in favor of this. And you and I went door to door at the Capitol.
No,
We
no,
were
no,
very,
no. We have to be completely fair. We have to be completely fair. House members, yes. We had one Republican, and God love him. You know who it is in the Senate? Bob Hall.
I thought you were talking about the House. Yeah.
No,
Right.
Bob Hall.
Right. 100% of the House Republicans and only one senator voted no for this bill, which was 2565 and House Bill 1605. So those are the two numbers for the
video of what of the circus and the drama that was done around this to conceal the corruption, the collusion, and the cronyism is probably the worst acting I've ever seen. And shame on Terry Leo Wilson. She should not be voted back in office. I'm super disappointed in Tony Tinderholt and don't know whether or not he should be returned to office. Because this is the most critical and most damaging thing that could happen in education. For successful schools, it creates such a financial hardship for them with all of the unfunded mandates, and it adds 240 minutes a week for K through 5 of online teaching. So for a school district like mine, who's successful and pays out all this money in Robinhood, that's gonna land on them, and they're gonna either have to that's their allotment. That is their ELA allotment, is this open education resource. That's what is going to be approved. And now the SBOE does get and is having a meeting to address that. They will get some say in it. But again, it can be changed on the fly. So this is the most nefarious
because it's digital. Because it's digital, it can be changed. Although there were legislators who took the bait, who follow the trappings of the polarizing narrative. Oh, the CRT and the SEL and all this stuff. Oh, well, this gives parents a portal. They can see what's in the kids' curriculum and what their lessons are, which is that's hogwash. Because we know that digital parents can't see it. And in my district, they'll let us see it, but they have armed guards watching us, and you can't take pictures of anything because it's proprietary. And so, I want to go over some of the people the lobbyists. Can you see this now?
Yes, I have now.
So these are the lobbyists involved in getting this bill passed. That Dick Weekly is tied to some of them, and others just joined on because it is there's layers and layers to this agenda. But what happened was Morath created a teacher. And Abbott created this Texas teacher vacancy task force. Oh, why are teachers leaving in droves? Well, there's a million reasons why they're leaving, but they used fake reasons. No, it's because of lesson plans, because they don't like to have to make these lesson plans. They just don't have time to make lesson plans. So we bring in these high quality instructional materials, HQIM, and they used the fake teacher task force stacked with their people to bring in to justify bringing in this Amplify curriculum. And then they have all these lobbyists from Texas 2036, the Texas Association of Business, TPPF, Texas Public Policy Foundation, and then primarily it was the Commit Partnership who was driving this. And then you got Greater Houston Partnership, and then the Charter Alliance. So this is charter people.
But Dick Weekly himself had 4 lobbyists on it. I mean,
right. We know that he hired
TPPF.
He hired Kat Parks. And he was talking about Leo Lindbeck. who's Leo Lindbeck?
Well, Leo Lindbeck is a builder in Houston, and Leo just showed up and was all in favor of this, and he may have hired one, but Leo Lindbeck's not a lobbyist. He hired Mo Casey, and then he had Larry Taylor on it, and I think I don't know who Larry Taylor worked for TPPF, so he had Larry Taylor, Huberty.
They're bored, but Dan Huberty, former state representative Dan Huberty is with Mo Casey, and then you got Larry Taylor, who was on the Senate Education Committee hearing, Senate Education Committee for years.
You also had AT&T there. AT&T lobbyists were there because this is online, so the AT&T lobbyists were showing up to promote this as well. So it was heavily stacked, but every teacher organization was lobbying against it. And then, of course, I would say Families Engaged was the grassroots organization that understood what this meant. And let's be clear, what this means is a dumbing down of education. It also means that data grab that we talked about. It also means an advancement, a secure, clean advancement to the 2036 project and to the Great Reset, the 2030 Great Reset. I mean, it definitely sets it up for all of these things. And the 1605 is probably the most damaging thing that's happened. It is also going to create a huge cash issue for schools that choose not to use it and schools who choose to use it because of the unfunded mandates with it. And then another bill that I want to talk about is
oh, wait, before you go on to that, I just wanted to show there were a lot of myths that they had, and it was the Coalition for Excellence in Education, or Education Excellence, that had all of those groups together. So I don't think I said that, but lots of myths on what it was going to do, and they used the legitimate issues that we have in education, and they were pretending like that would be the remedy to it. It's all spin.
Yeah. And so another bill that that we did not want to go anywhere was SB 8. SB 8 had the earmark of Dick Weekly and his TLR, tort reform, lawsuit tort reform, in there, because in SB 8, while it was primarily a voucher bill, it was enraptured in great parent empowerment. And the irony is that it had some revisions to the grievance process. And the grievance right now, in order to file a lawsuit, you have to have tried everything at your local district to get a remedy before a court will hear it. So in the state courts, not federal issues, but state courts. So if you have a state issue, you have to have gone through that grievance process in order to file the lawsuit, or the judge will dismiss it. We're seeing that all over the place. So while it's convenient that we're out there advocating for parents and teaching them how to do grievances, they're rewriting the grievance laws, and it was in here. And one of the things, even though it was already in code,
wait, they being
in the bill, the authors of the SBA, which Dick Weekly and TPPF were supposedly the authors, and again, it was Creighton who carried it. And there was not, the bill was, the identical bill was not filed in the House of SB 8. At any rate, in SB 8, there was a punitive measure for parents where schools could arbitrarily, it did not define who decided if it was frivolous, or did not define what frivolous was. It just said if it was found that the complaint was frivolous, that the parent could be held accountable for attorney's fees and other fees associated with it. So in other words, a lot of times we file a grievance to get information because they won't give us the information, and we're forcing to get information. We never win them, but we get a lot of policy changes. But they could decide, hey, if that's frivolous, we're not doing that, and they could force a parent. So it was really an attempt to quash parents from speaking out. Absolutely egregious that was an SB 8. So SB 8 died in the House. Buckley did not have the votes to get it out of committee, thank goodness. And it caused a lot of heartache between the two chambers because they sat on SB 8. So what the Senate did is the Senate took the voucher portion and added the voucher portion to House Bill 100, which is the education appropriations. HB 100 is education budget or education appropriations. So they stripped the voucher and put it in HB 100. And then they took the other components and added it to House Bill, I think it is, I'll have to get it for you. I think it's 890. It could be 8960. I'll have to look it up. But they added it to another bill. Now, at currently, they've not moved forward. However, you need to know that Mays Middleton is the one who added the amendment to have the parents held accountable for a frivolous complaint against a school. So these are people who are not friendly to parents. And then the other bill that I think we have to talk about is the Chaplain bill. And
Yeah.
and
The
and
Chaplain bill, yeah, keep going.
well, we stayed out of this, but there was no way to stop it. Again, it was authored by Mays Middleton. It was
Well, I reached out to him. I watched some of the hearing and I was like, huh, they make some really good points that the military has chaplains and that they have, and you realize they're bringing all this social emotional crap into the schools. And so it's like, okay, well, you could give them their, chaplain of choice. But when you really look at the finer, the unintended consequences and some of the pitfalls of this, it's really dangerous. It's a huge problem. And chaplain, if you look at chaplains, are a very generic term for it's a very loose. So I think Christians are thinking, oh, a chaplain, like, yeah, that would be good. So let's bring God back into the schools. No, we already have other religions practicing in the schools. In Richardson, we have, in all 4 high schools, we have Islamic prayer rooms, Muslim prayer rooms, because they were pissed off because the kids were leaving school to go pray and they needed the butts in the seats funding. They were doing the snapshot of attendance and realized, oh, we're losing the money. So that's why they let them do it. It's not they let them worship and everybody can worship, just some kids can worship. So we already have a lot of religion in the schools, but it's not the Christian faith that these Christians who are pushing the Chaplain bill are thinking that this is going to put God in the schools. What it's actually going to do is open up, Wiccan. Who all can bring their Wiccan chaplain? You can bring your Islamic chaplain. You can bring your Catholic chaplain. You can bring your Scientology chaplain. So, right. But if you look at, it's a vendor bill. That's what you and I figured out.
It was intended for Rocky Malloy, and Rocky Malloy has already created a video saying, I'm just going to say, I have problems with the Chaplain bill. I'm a Christian. I've spent a lot of my life to eradicate biblical illiteracy. I hope that the majority of the time that I live my life in such a fashion that it reflects that, and that I don't have to preach that to other people and make them feel inferior or indifferent because of that. However, the Chaplain bill was a vendor bill, and it was lobbied and promoted by a member of the State Board of Education. And she should not have been doing that.
Name names.
That's a conflict of interest. And she was hugely involved in it. And not only was she involved in it, but Melissa Martin was involved in it, who is
tied. You didn't say her name. Who's the state board?
Oh, I'm sorry, Julie Pickering.
Yeah, we got to name names.
And Julie Pickering and Mays Middleton and Melissa Martin are this little triad of education eradicators, if you would. But the ironic thing about everything that they're doing is somebody somewhere is making money off of it.
I saw Julie, carting around that Rocky Malloy. We ran into them when we were at the legislature, and
all the time
bringing him door to door, opening him up to all these people and giving him, access. And we know that Malloy is also part of what she calls the good SEL, and that's Hope Rising. So she was pimping out a vendor as well as this Chaplain bill. So they stand to gain not just the chaplain.
I believe that at one point, I'm not sure
access for the chaplaincy is also for the access for the Hope Rising. Was just a tool. They used the Chaplain bill as a tool to get this guy in there. And I'm actually looking for that mission generation.
The other thing that I have an issue with here is that at one point Julie Pickren was on the board of Hope Rising. Now, since she ran for office or something, I think she may have had her hand slapped and she's gotten off of that. I don't know. We're not tracking that the way we are focusing on some other things. But the other thing is that Rocky Malloy just put out an all call for donations to help fund the Texas Chaplain bill. And if you donate $2,300, you sponsor a chaplain to get trained. So I'm wondering, can I get trained if somebody donates $2,300, or if I pay it myself, can I go be trained? I want to know what this
I will support you in that if you'd like to.
Thank you. That's so sweet. No, I'm not going to do that.
No,
I'm
either.
I don't think that is, I think that it would have been nice if we would have had a bill that said that if parents wanted their chaplain to come and see their child during school hours, or their therapist to come and see the child during school hours, that was an option. But and ironically, Senator Perry's bill died. So the other opportunity for parents to have a win was Senate Bill 595, which was Lois Colkhurst. And that was a bill that required Valerie Swanson authored the same bill in the House. And we did I don't think you were there when we testified for that. I think that was, did you go for that? Holly was there, Marcy was there. We had a lot of people show up. Greg came, Terry, there was a lot of people that showed up for that. Mental health and surveys. That the schools would have to get parents' permission before they could do any of that. And those bills died. They died in the House. They died. The House bill got out of the House. The Senate bill got out of the Senate, but nobody picked it up on the other side. And it's basically because they didn't want it. Somebody didn't want it. Somebody in the Senate didn't want it.
So, okay. So what does that mean total? I mean, like,
we didn't get anything. Nothing changed. And that was, Lee Spiller, who is a friend of ours and focuses on the mental health tragedies, I would say, and protection and mental health in the schools, parents' rights and children's rights in the mental health arena. That was something that he had hoped to get passed, and we agreed with him on that. And so we supported the efforts to get that passed. So, okay,
I want to play you this. I sent this to a couple of people. I found it. So this is Rocky and Josky Malloy. They're founders of the National School Chaplain Association. And so it was House Bill 3614. Is that the? Yeah. And, a lot of people would say, this is one thing I would see often when they'd say, God is moving on this, because they don't understand. I mean, they want to see the good. They want to have some hope that there are some good bills being passed and good things being done by this Republican majority legislature. But in reality, that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to result of this. So I'm going to share the screen. I think this is interesting for people to see this.
Okay. Will it play?
Can you hear it?
No, I can't hear it.
Okay, hold on. I don't know why it's paused.
I don't know. Maybe you just have to post the link.
I can do that.
I've heard it.
Because I'm on earbuds. Hold on.
Means that we're very close now to having chaplains in public schools funded by public money.
Public money,
it's the first time in the nation's history for this to happen. And it's the first time in the nation's history for this to happen. And it's because of your support. In public schools funded by public money. It's the first time in the nation's history for this to happen, and it's because of your support. Thank you so much. Keep praying for us, keep believing with us, and keep helping us financially. We've got expenses we've never had before. To know that God and prayer are back in school in official capacity, delivered through chaplains. God bless you.
This was We the People in Action. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Okay. Okay.
Love got to do it.
So yeah, all right. So I would say that when we wrap
Hold on, I
up
guess
the
I'll have
session,
Bud's back on.
okay. So the teachers did not get a substantial raise. And over $2 billion was given to expand the Texas Education Agency. A fleet of 40 Suburbans was funded for the Texas Education Agency. We expanded big
40
government.
Suburbans.
Those are $100,000 a piece, and we saw
Who drives them? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe Kristen Hull. Maybe that's what she gets to drive. Who knows? Or maybe that's what Legislature gets to drive from San Antonio to Austin. We can do another show on TEA, by the way, and their recommendations to parents to get lawyers.
All right, we'll get on that.
But this was not a win for conservative. This was not a win for parents. There was absolutely no win. And I know that we are grateful to have somebody stand up and fight and say that pornography in schools is wrong. And it was wonderful that House Bill 900 passed. However, we don't have books in schools, and schools.
We have some books in schools, but we do have books in schools. But the problem is they don't want books in schools as the end game. They want to shift. That was the whole point of House Bill 1605, is to shift from textbooks to technology. So this whole House Bill 900 book battle bill was a moot point. It was futile. And all these people put all their energy into it, and you'd have people saying, God is working and yay. No. There's never a wrong time to fight bad books. Like I'm not saying it's not worth fighting bad books, but that's a local issue that you tackle locally. But to make it a bill, it's an empty platitude, because they don't want books in the schools. They want Chromebooks and technology to replace the books. Yeah.
Here's the thing. There's no law that makes it illegal. There's no consequence. I mean, the federal law that right. So, I mean, it's like CRT. It's just, and we spend all this money, and apparently we spend all this booze to have them in Austin to, write these bills, and yet they really don't accomplish anything. The only thing we did was grow the tremendous size of our government. And people are asking about tax refunds. There's not going to be any tax refund. And I said this every week of session. People would talk about.
You mean property tax relief, because that was the biggest
tax relief.
No, right. There's no property tax relief if they don't stop spending. You can't have you can't have legislators have a $2.44 billion bill, a fiscal note on a bill, and them say that they are also for property tax reform, because the spending is happening on the right. The spending is the legislature is run by those on the right. Make no mistake.
And again, we're on the right. There are people. We're begging them to listen to us. We are showing them that not only is there going to be a tax increase out of the state, but that when they mandate this technology, that it's $10 million every 3 years, if not more than that, in the majority of schools. At any rate, at the end of the day, teachers didn't get a raise. We bloated up administration. We have unfunded mandates. We have no improvement in curriculum. There's no wins. There's no wins.
No.
We have a
very bad session.
It was a very bad session. And
one thing that I want to do, I think that we need to talk about what I mean, maybe we do another show after this, is that the special session, they might say it's for school choice. And since the governor didn't get his way on that, but I believe it's going to be about
It's virtual
the
ed.
virtual education, correct? And we've done a show on that before. And I think maybe we need to compile some of the signs and some of the evidence that we've seen, because we know that the Great Hearts charters and some of the lobbyists are really pushing these legislators on the virtual charters and the virtual school network and the virtual learning. And that, because that bill apparently did not make it through, right? The virtual
No, it did
ed
not.
bill died.
It did not. I
Mhm.
think that they were holding it because they wanted to make sure that they got SB8 through. And so I think that they felt like that they were going to get pushback if they tried to get some from a funding standpoint.
Well,
so
okay,
I
think about that. Think about that. Okay, the voucher never passes. The voucher bill never passes, but it's always the thing that they use as a negotiating tool. So I'm just wondering if that's how they got 1605, and that's how they got, whatever, what was the other thing?
Yeah.
Okay, are they going to do the same thing in the special session? Make it sound like vouchers, get everybody all riled up and polarized. I'm against vouchers. I'm for vouchers. Parent empowerment, let the money follow the child, blah, blah, blah. Are they going to make it about that? But really, it's about bringing in the virtual again, like 1605. They negotiated vouchers and 1605. Okay, just no vouchers. We'll do whatever you want on the 1605. Just no vouchers. Because they're not going to have any heat from the base. They're going to go home. All these jokers are going to come back. People like Tan Parker or Angela Parker or
Not
Brad
Angela
Buckley.
Parker, Angela
Angela, sorry, Paxton.
So, well, and what you're talking
yeah.
about though is we do have to give everybody a heads up that they're already coming home and going to the Republican meetings and telling everybody what a success they had and
So full of it.
justifying their vote to impeach Paxton. I mean, they're already, the House members are already showing up and speaking, and y'all need to be prepared. Watch and see. And if we let them come home and act like they're heroes, shame on us. We have to show up at every one of these meetings. And we had 3 people at Craig Goldman. He showed up at Cowtown Republicans in Fort Worth last night. And he was only there for an hour. And I was like, at 5:30, I can't get across town. So I was so grateful that we had 3 members go and ask him questions, but then they videoed it. So I've seen it. And honestly, they come home and they're not honest. They
have low information voters who weren't there. It's so easy for them to say, God, we got rid of those bad books in the schools, and we got rid of CRT, and we got, we're doing this and that. No,
and he didn't even talk about that. He acted like they closed the border. And you know what his big win was? Is that they changed it so the movie industry in Texas, because there's a law in this is the craziest thing. There's a law in Texas that if you film a movie in Texas, it's 70% of the people that you employ have to be Texas citizens. So in other words, when the movie industry comes to Texas and makes a film, they can bring the movie stars from California, but they can't bring the film crew. The film crew that they use has to pretty much be out of Texas. And because they want to have more of the film industry come to Texas and film, they changed the law, and now you only have to have 50%. And that was what Craig Goldman thought was a success with business, to bring more of Hollywood here. And he said, do you know who does the most in the film industry? Well, it's Georgia. And a parent said, yeah, and how's Georgia doing? Crime. They've got, the schools are no good. The elections are stolen. Yeah, we want Georgia. Right. Let's do that.
I mean, but the point is that they can pull the wool over our eyes locally, and we all go, oh, so-and-so is gracing us with his presence or her presence, and she's going to tell us what happened in the legislature. It's all spin. And so we need to be prepared to say, why did you vote for 1605 to allow UNESCO in our schools and for kids to be spending 4 hours on devices a day or more? How did you justify that? Oh, because parents have a portal. Did you not do your research? Like there's no parent portal. the portal to hell. No, we're not going to be able to see what's there. They can change it on a dime. And so what?
Right.
So
Right.
what?
Yeah,
They're still on
I mean-
devices. You give me a portal so I can see the crap they're learning. They're still learning crap.
Again, thank you for saying that so concisely, because that's exactly what our call to action is. Keep up with when your House rep comes home, when your senator comes home, when they're going to speak, because they all do their dog and pony shows. Now, the senators have 4 years before they have to be reelected. Most of them, a couple of them are up in 2. Interesting story. But most of them are going to be up in 4, but you have all of the House. And they're going to announce by September that they're running for a different office, or they're running for this office again. And you must be there, and you must ask them about education, and you must ask them why there's not a property tax reduction. You must tell them what you want, and you must tell them that they must represent your voice and not their donor's voice. And we would say that if they took money from Dick Weekly, that you need to tell them that if they continue to take money from Dick Weekly, that you're not going to vote for them just because they took money from Dick Weekly, because he has too much power over the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Senate and the House. When they are negotiating on making sure they get his bills, we have a problem. It's about the people.
Right, because Mary, remember that Monday, it was the Monday before May 1st, we had the votes against 1605, and that next morning we have witnesses that saw Marath in the Capitol that morning, and he convinced 100% of the House Republicans to vote in favor of the Amplify vendor technology bill. How did they do that? They had to have negotiated something. What did they get in return for their vote? Why were they okay with that? Most of these people should be that.
I'm told that they got not having to vote on the voucher. And then when they tried to make them vote on the voucher, there was a huge fight between the House and the Senate, because the House was told that they just had to deliver either 1605 or SB 8. And 1605, most people aren't in tune to what 1605 meant. And so they thought they could go home and get away with it. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway,
Okay. So call to action. What else are we missing? We got to go.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, those are, nothing gained in education, mostly a loss.
Yeah. If you need to know how your rep voted on these bills that we're talking about, feel free to message us and we can tell you, because we've got it memorized up here in our noggins. We were there. We saw them. We looked in their beady eyes, and they lied, and they sold out the children of Texas. And so we're not putting up with it. They're not conservative.
They're not conservative. We have some QR codes that are out there that explain 1605, 2565 to you. And,
the state board. Do we need to talk about the state board in 1605 and that coming out?
Sure. The state board, and I'll call for that, is the 22nd.
June.
The meeting. Yes, 22nd of June. SBOE this time is the June 20th through the 22nd. And on the 22nd, you cannot speak on the 22nd, but you can sit and witness and listen what all is going to change about how curriculum is adopted now that 1605 has passed. And we will be there just to listen, and we would welcome anybody else to join us, because the more eyes there are, the more accountable and more pressure they feel. And this is your state. These are your children. This is your government. Show up.
Amen. Okay. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.